Hi, everyone. My name is Adam Robinson. I'm the co-founder and CEO here at Hireology. Thank you for joining us and welcome to the second webinar in our Quick Hit series. Our goal with this series is to touch on timely workforce topics in digestible 15 to 20-minute segments. And today we are going to talk about something that I know is on everyone's minds lately, and that is how to safely return to the office or place of work post-pandemic. I know many organizations are considering embracing a hybrid staffing model, and that's where part of your team works remotely while the rest come into the office in some capacity. At Hireology, we've always operated this way, even before the pandemic, going back 12 years ago when I started the company. And so that model has been very successful for us. And so I wanted to offer some insight from our experience in managing our workforce this way. And I want to talk about what we've done to get it, I think, mostly right. So if you go to any news outlet right now, chances are you'll see an article discussing what a return to normalcy might look like as people get vaccinated and COVID cases continue to fall. And it's pretty hotly debated. Some companies want their people back full-time. Others are considering full-time remote options. And some employees are hesitant to return, either for safety concerns or because they've grown accustomed to the increased flexibility and, dare I say, trust that they've been given that comes from working remotely. So either way, it's a really big decision, and it just does not seem to have any one right answer. But there's one option that seems to make its way into every single one of those articles and conversations, and that's what we call the hybrid staffing model. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the hybrid staffing model is a setup in which some folks will continue to work remotely full-time while others return to the office either full-time or part-time. And then this model is appealing for many reasons. For one, you can continue to promote safety and social distancing for those who aren't vaccinated or just don't feel comfortable returning to pre-pandemic office life. Secondly, if the past year has taught us anything, it is that it is possible to run a successful business with an entirely remote team. In fact, you may find that efficiency and productivity went up. We have found that we can work from where we're safe and comfortable and still get all the important work done. So why not allow people to continue operating with that flexibility if it's worked and if it's what they prefer? During a time when top talent really has many options at their fingertips, we can't afford as employers to take away this type of benefit. A topic we're not going to go a lot into today, but another big issue right now is the fact that the number of jobs in the United States is open without hires is over 8 million now, but the number of applicants for jobs has been flat since the beginning of the year. So there's a huge demand spike right now. And so anything that gets you a leg up on recruiting people is something that you're going to want to do. And so the hybrid model gives those of us who are craving some in-person interaction the opportunity to do so in the office. It also gives those of us who value freedom and the trust and want to be able to choose where they work is also nice. The last benefit of a hybrid model, and the one that I think can have the biggest impact, as I just alluded to, is that it offers companies across the board access to a wider talent pool. Now, this is the biggest reason why back in 2010, we embraced it here at Hireology. As an HR technology company, we know that there will always be some roles that are really hard to fill. And when you're constrained to a single location or single geographic talent base, particularly for highly skilled workers, it can be really tough to find the best of the best. Now, I understand that some of you are in industries where you just can't go remote geography. You've got to be in the same MSA. I get that, but the hybrid model can still give you flexibility to open those hard to fill roles up. Either within your geographic area or, if possible, anywhere in the United States, perhaps even the world. I am seeing more of that, in fact. Can this hybrid model really work, though? At Hireology, we decided to operate this way very early on. As I said, largely because we didn't want to limit our hiring pool to Chicago-based applicants only. Back in the early days, most of our hiring was around technology and engineering, and the pool was pretty thin back then here in Chicago for the kind of technology we used. Less so now. But our very first hires were outside of Chicago in tier 2 and tier 3 markets, and it worked, and we kept doing it. So when we first embraced this model, I had many venture capital firms tell me that I was crazy to operate this way and that it would never work. They said in order to foster the synergy required to build a great product and a successful company, you have to have your team together in one place. I just didn't agree with that. And I thought the world was changing. And, here we are again. And people are saying you can't go to a full remote model, or you can't go to a hybrid model. You got to get everyone back in the office. This will never work. Hybrid's going to be really tough because what happens when people in office and out of office have a hard time meeting? You're probably getting a lot of that. I'm here to tell you that I disagree with that. I absolutely believe that hybrid can work, and that's what we're here to talk about today. I really think it's an excellent path to consider as we formulate a return to office, right? Nothing's going to stop you later from going back to office full time. But here we are at this midpoint of pandemic recovery, and we're taking a look at what it might take to get back into work. And hybrid is really, I think, the best of both worlds. So today at Hireology, we do have about 40% of our team located outside of our Chicago headquarters, everywhere from state of Washington to Texas to Connecticut. And as I said, we've operated this way for the last 12 years. And I can tell you, it's not something we're going to eliminate. As long as we're legally permitted to do it, right? That model will be around. It is a big part of our success. So how do we make it work? The key is that our leadership team is dedicated to ensuring that we promote one culture, not two. We don't have the remote team and the on-site team. It is Hireology. And our philosophy is that we really want to bring the remote and on-site culture together and talk about one team. So we have one company. And this idea starts at the top with our leadership team, and the message has to be cascaded down to each team and individual Hireologist. Now, it's easy to give this idea lip service. It is harder to actually make it work. And so when we first embraced this model, we had to ask ourselves what we needed to do to bring that cohesive culture to life. It required a lot of trial and error. And quite honestly, we weren't great at it at first. But now, a decade later, I think we figured out what it takes. So we prioritize 4 key areas. This is where I'm going to key in on here. Number 1, core values. 2nd, technology. 3rd, face-to-face connection. 4th, trust. Now I'll run through how each of these priorities has helped us succeed with a hybrid staffing model. And hopefully you can leave this presentation with 1 or 2 things you can add to your return to office plans. So our first area of focus is our core values. Our values unite us. Everyone at Hireology knows them by heart. They are our rules of engagement, our rules of the road. And we have found that when everybody plays by the same rules, doesn't matter where we work, we all understand how we are expected to conduct ourselves and the values in which we believe. And so a quick look at our 5 core values. Shut your eyes if you're sensitive to certain language. Own the result. The ever popular no assholes, eager to improve. And the final 2 are create wow moments and pathological optimism. No time more than now has the need to stay positive and continue to wow each other and do the unexpected. Our customers and just our fellow humans have been, it's been more important to them. We celebrate moments in each of these categories in our company daily and weekly, and these are our North Star for how we run our entire business. So this is our example of how we promote values. And we know that just jotting down core values isn't enough. You've really got to work hard and instill them into your culture. On Hireology, we do this in a few ways. First, our values are easily accessible. So we have a company intranet where the values are prominent and available. We also include additional information about exactly what each value means and looks like in practice. So we've taken time to write these things out and describe them, publish them, and make it part of our onboarding process. We repeat them often. We repeat them as a company during our weekly all-company stand-ups, and each functional team repeats them in weekly team meetings too at the start of every meeting. And so you really can't go overboard here. The more this you say them, honestly, the better. And if you think that feels a little bit culty, the answer is it is a little bit culty. Your culture and core value system needs to feel like it's yours. And don't go shy on making them front and center. And lastly, we reward people for embracing our values. Internally, we have a submission form where peers can nominate one another, their teammates each week for demonstrating one of these core values. Then we highlight and celebrate the winners of the week during the company huddles. Send out gift cards, have our annual company award show based on who got votes on these from their peers. I mean, we really make this front and center. And second thing is that we found that technology also plays a key role in creating that single unified culture for our hybrid team. Now, I think this is something most companies have figured out over the past year. Zoom meetings and virtual happy hours have become the norm, but it will be really important to maintain high levels of tech as you return to the office and start embracing that hybrid model. Folks in the office will be face-to-face, which makes it a lot easier for them to form those natural human connections. So it's easy for people who aren't there physically to get left out. So it's really important to make sure that those who remain remote are included too. And one thing we prioritized before the pandemic, as you look at our office setup here, was bringing our remote folks into all company meetings on a big screen to make them feel like they're in the room with us rather than having a one-way setup where they can only see and hear us. So, we've ditched the big, starfish shaped conference call equipment, and we've replaced it with gigabit internet, high definition cameras, and good microphones. And so this way it really feels like we're all together in one place and we can all interact with one another. It fosters that sense of community, unity, and single culture. And honestly, nothing says we don't care about our remote workforce like bad technology and bad internet connectivity. And so earlier in our history, I would tell you that we got it absolutely wrong. I mean, it was choppy, pixelated, and really hard to follow. That's not promoting one culture. So make the investment if you're going hybrid, make sure your tech is good. So as you get back to the office, let's talk about prioritizing the necessary technology investments to make this work. It's hard to pull this off, this hybrid model off, without good tech, as I've said. And so a few years ago, we went through an office renovation and installed new mics, a new AV system, big televisions, HD cameras. Again, I'll harp on this point. You really can't skimp on the tech. There is so much technology at our fingertips, and it's something that you need to take advantage of to make this work. And it will be tempting to just give up on Zoom. I mean, when you see last week in the Wall Street Journal, the CEO of Zoom quoted as he himself is sick of Zoom meetings. We've jumped the shark on Zoom meetings, but all your other video conferencing services, including Zoom, Teams, whatever you're using, when we can be safely in person again, you may want to chuck it. But if half your team is still at home, we really have to continue with those face-to-face virtual meetings, even if it's just a one-on-one or a small group meeting. So it's something you need to prioritize. Connection. Even if you do everything we've discussed until now and you do that correctly, there's really no replacement for actual face-to-face connection. Oh, this is your paradox here. It's good to be hybrid, I believe, but you still need to bring everybody together from time to time. And so I think this is something that we all have come to appreciate over the last year of isolation. To really drive empathy and build a unified culture, you need to have the opportunity for everyone to meet and interact with one another in person. And now that that vaccine is becoming widely available and COVID cases drop, I think we have the opportunities to do that this year. So at Hireology, we meet as an entire company twice per year, in the summer and at the end of the year. With the exception of 2020, those meetings were remote. But during these events, we review how we performed against our goals. We kick off our plans for the next 6 months, and we welcome our newest Hireologists with our lab coat ceremony. And so in January, we kick the year off. We launch our theme. We talk about the trends in the market and where we're headed. And it's summer, it's a little more social. We get together, we check in on how we're doing, but we just want to provide space and opportunity for people to get to know one another. It's really important, and I think has served as a glue for our culture. And when we do get everyone on site, we know it's super important to make the most of that time. So there's a few things we've learned over the years about making these events as successful as possible. First, we build a sense of camaraderie by celebrating shared wins. We share how we performed, the key successes for each team, and any other big highlights. We then share new company goals along with our strategy for achieving them. So what I've found is when everyone is in the same room and really excited about what's to come and where we're headed, it really builds that feeling of togetherness and unity. We also create opportunities for folks who aren't in the office regularly to get to know those who are in the office. So we build in time for smaller cross-functional group meetings and workshops so that those who aren't together regularly can connect with one another. And lastly, we give people a chance to interact without structure. So this is the time that our people, whether they work in the office or not, really get to know one another on a personal level and form real relationships. And so a lot of cross-pollination happens here, all important. Now, the key to the last key I want to mention to a successful hybrid staffing model is trust. You have to ask yourself as a leader, if you truly believe people do their best work regardless of whether or not you're standing over their shoulder. Or, do you think they only get good work done because someone is staring at them, right? Or seeing them face to face? If you have a hard time trusting people, then you're going to have a really hard time doing well with a hybrid office model. And I think the pandemic has taught us that more often than not, the people on your team care about doing good work and they want to see the company succeed. I just believe fundamentally human beings want to do their best. This doesn't change if they work in the office or if they work at home. And I mean, my team is evidence of this. If I had any doubts about our team's ability or capability to handle the trust we give them to work at home and get their stuff done, we would have had a really rough year. And as a leader, this is something you just have to accept and believe in order to make this hybrid model work. So if you're here listening and you think that that trust is an issue and that people just won't work that hard, they'll slack off, they'll sit around their pajamas all day and watch soap operas, like whatever you think about people, if you believe that that's true, hybrid is just not for you. But when you show your team members that you trust them, it fosters reciprocity. You give people trust, you get people's best work in return, no matter where they're located. So one big reason why we at Hireology have so much trust in our people is because anytime we bring someone new on board, they've been through our hiring process and we know they belong here. It's because we have a hiring process in place. You would hope we use our own software, and we do, that helps us attract top applicants, narrow our pool down, who truly fit the bill for the role, and onboard new team members in a consistent way that sets them up for success. And this is a really crucial component of a successful hybrid model. Trust shouldn't be a problem if you're bringing people on board that you know are motivated, skilled, and ready to get to work. And of course, finding those people starts with a great hiring process. So to summarize, it's hard to believe the pandemic that changed life as we know it is coming to an end. Let's all knock on wood. Folks are getting vaccinated and cases continue to decline all over the country. So as you embark on your plan to reopen the office, you might be considering a hybrid staffing model. After over a decade of operating this way at Hireology, we've found that the key to getting it right is creating a single unified culture, and it starts at the top. And putting that into practice requires 4 key areas of focus. You've got to define and instill your core values. You've got to invest in the necessary technology. You've got to create opportunities to bring people together face to face whenever possible. And lastly, you've got to bring trust and give that trust to the people whom you are hiring. Now, if this is something you're considering, take it from me, this can work and it can work well. The benefits are enormous, especially now as it's getting tougher and tougher to fill your open roles. Getting it right requires a plan and a leadership team that is dedicated to carrying out that plan. So if any of the advice I walked through today resonated with you, or if you want to learn more about how Hireology can help you hire top talent as the economy ramps back up and we all return to the office, please reach out to us at info@hireology.com. We'd love to hear from you and continue the discussion. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to follow up individually and share our own experience about our hybrid model. Thank you so much for being a part of our Quick Hit series today. We're going to wrap this up right at 24 minutes. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you again soon.